What happens when grief becomes global and every move of a public figure is watched, clipped, and analyzed like a puzzle with missing pieces? In today's world, one moment of silence, one speech, or even one outfit can turn into a storm of theories, opinions, and viral debates. And that is exactly what has been happening around at Erica Kirk and the powerful organization at Turning Point USA. Some people see strength in her actions, others see contradictions they cannot ignore. But the real question is, why does every appearance feel like it adds another layer to a mystery no one can fully solve? In the weeks and months following a deeply tragic and widely reported public incident involving Charlie Kirk, attention did not fade, it multiplied. Instead of silence, the internet did what it always does. It filled the gaps with discussion, interpretation, and non-stop analysis. At the center of it all stood Erica, who suddenly found herself not just in the role of a grieving widow, but also a public leader connected to at Turning Point USA, an organization already under intense political spotlight. Some viewers pointed to her speeches, where she spoke about legacy, leadership, and continuing the mission. Supporters saw resilience. Critics saw something else: speed. The pace at which public appearances resumed became a talking point. Cross-social platforms, clips began circulating from events, interviews, and conferences. Every gesture was replayed. Every sentence was broken apart. On platforms like X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, commentary channels exploded with reactions. At News Commentary Daily posted, "Every appearance feels like it's sending a message beyond the words." Meanwhile, supporters of at Turning Point USA argued that the organization was simply trying to stabilize after a major leadership loss. Now that continuing operations was necessary, not unusual, but the internet was not satisfied with simple explanations. One of the most discussed themes became emotional expression. Some viewers analyzed tone, body language, and facial expressions during public appearances. Others pushed back strongly, saying grief cannot be measured or compared. A viral debate emerged. Can grief look too controlled? Or is that just what public leadership looks like under pressure? Hashtags began trending. Hashtag grief under scrutiny. Hashtag public live pressure. Hashtag Erica Kirk debate. Then came the interviews. In one widely circulated conversation, Erica spoke about responsibility, memory, and continuing the mission she believed in. Supporters clipped her words as inspiring. Critics slowed down footage, analyzing pauses and expressions. But what made things more intense was not just what was said. It was what people believed was not being said. Online creators began stitching together timelines, event appearances, interviews, organizational announcements, public reactions. Each video ended the same way, with a question mark. And that question mark became the engine of virality. Even neutral viewers started noticing how divided the audience had become. Some called it unfair targeting. Others called it accountability in the digital age. At the same time, Turning Point USA continued expanding events, producing content, and hosting large public gatherings. For supporters, this was a sign of strength and continuity. For critics, it was part of what made the situation feel too fast to process. But the most viral moments were still ahead, because the internet had only just started paying attention. As online discussions intensified, even small moments began to gain massive attention. A handshake here, a hug there, a speech clip taken out of context. Each one traveled across platforms faster than the last. One particular moment involving a public interaction with political figure at J.D. Vance became a trending topic. The clip itself was brief, but the reaction was massive. Some viewers described it as completely normal, while others analyzed it frame by frame, adding speculation that spread rapidly across TikTok edits and commentary channels. Within hours, hashtags began forming again. Hashtag Internet of Awarenesses, hashtag Political Media Storm, Hashtag every move is clipped at this point. Even mainstream commentary accounts started acknowledging a pattern. The internet was no longer just reacting neat, was interpreting everything. As symbolic. Meanwhile, Erica's public appearances continued. She attended events, spoke at gatherings, and participated in interviews discussing leadership, legacy, and resilience. In every appearance, she emphasized continuation rather than retreat. But audiences were split. Some saw discipline and strength. Others saw something they couldn't fully interpret. That gap between perception and intention is exactly where internet mysteries are born. One viral creator on X wrote, "It's not about what she says anymore. It's about how people feel watching it." That single post gained millions of impressions. Soon after, even unrelated past clips resurfaced. Old interviews were reanalyzed with new context. Statements were reframed. Moments that once had no controversy suddenly became part of a larger narrative online. But there was no single agreed narrative. Only fragments. And fragments fuel curiosity. What made this situation even more complex was how both sides became more vocal. Supporters accused critics of creating conspiracies out of nothing. Critics accused supporters of ignoring inconsistencies. Neither side fully backed down, and in the middle of this digital storm stood one unavoidable truth. Everything public becomes content. Everything content becomes interpretation, and everything interpretation becomes debate. Even official statements from at Turning Point USA were dissected in comment sections under millions of reposts. Some praised transparency. Others questioned timing. But no statement was strong enough to stop the cycle of analysis once it began. At one point, even unrelated political commentary channels began covering the situation, adding more layers to an already complex narrative. And yet, through all of this, no single verified hidden truth ever emerged, only opinions, reactions, and perspectives clashing in real time, which leads to the biggest question of all. Are we witnessing something unusual? Or are we witnessing how the internet behaves when it refuses to accept simple answers? And now the question is not about one person, it's about us as viewers. Why do some stories explode into theories while others fade quietly away? Is it the actions being watched, or the audience doing the watching? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. Do you think the internet is reading too much into everything? Or is there always more beneath the surface? Follow 4 more deep dives, viral breakdowns, and unexplained online stories. And remember, sometimes the loudest mysteries are the ones created by millions of voices, not just one moment.